Would I still recommend getting this thing in 2024? Well, as always, it depends. So stick around, and in this video I will get into that answer. What's up everyone, Random Noise here, and today I wanted to share with you my updated thoughts and opinion on the Korg Electribe. Now, if you've been following me for a while, this little beast is not a stranger for you. I've actually started my channel posting many jams and tutorials on the Korg Electribe. And throughout the years, I've learned to grow a love-hate relationship with this unit. So what I wanted to do today is just go through some of what I think are the pros and cons of the Korg Electribe, with the hope that it can help you make a decision if you should get this thing or not. But just before we get into that, let's have a brief reminder of what exactly is the Korg Electribe. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Electribe, it is basically a groovebox, meaning it's a machine that you can actually make a complete music on. It has drums, it has synthesizer, and it has effects, and you can sequence and create patterns on that and perform those patterns and actually create a full track just using this thing. Now, the first line of Electribe was introduced way back then in 1999. And up until then, the groovebox market was dominated by two large companies, by Roland and Yamaha. And Roland and Yamaha back then were offering affordable machines that you could create complete songs on with different instruments and different effects, and a really capable workstation that was also great for performing live. Now, when Korg entered that market with a line of tribes, they took a different strategy. Instead of offering one box that captured everything, they released several different boxes, each one of which was focusing on different element of music making. For instance, the EA1 was offering an analog modeling synthesizer inside of a small box, and it was really great for creating lead sounds and bass line and creating some other synth sounds and grooves on the fly. The ER, on the other hand, was a drum machine focusing on drum synths combined with some PCM samples. And the ES was a sampling unit, which you could either sample into or use your own samples. And throughout the years, Korg continued to expand on the line of Tribe, adding more features, changing the design, until the most recent one that came out in 2014. There was actually a version 1 year earlier of the same Korg Electribe 2. It just had a different color. It was a gray color, but other than that, it has the same exact spec. So what Korg did with the latest version of the Electribe is releasing two units, one blue and one red, which share the exact same spec. However, the blue one is focusing on synths and has more oscillators and filter options, and the red one is focusing on sampling, in which you can actually record into and use your own samples. But other than that, they are really identical. And actually you can hack each one of these to swap the capabilities, but we are getting ahead of ourselves, and we'll talk a bit later about that when I will discuss the Hacktribe. Alright, now that we briefly discussed what is the Korg Electribe and how it all started, let me share with you what I believe are some of the pros and cons of this unit. So starting with the pros, first thing I want to mention is that I think this thing is brilliant for making some old school music, especially techno and goa trance. There's something about these units that speak old school. I don't know how to explain it. It's the sound, it's the workflow, and mainly it is the simplicity. I think what distinguished electronic music back then in the 80s and the 90s was how simple they were produced compared to the more advanced and heavily produced EDM that we had throughout the latest years. And I feel more connected to the old school and the previous music. I feel it had more soul back then, and I think this device kind of captured that soul. I don't know to explain how and why exactly, but it's just the feeling of playing and making music with this thing. There's something old school about it. Moving on to the second point, I just love how this thing is designed. I think the way that Korg organized the layout, the knobs and the buttons just make this workflow seamless and fun to making music and also to perform music. Now I know there is a very small screen over here and it requires some menu diving, but overall it's really fun making music on this thing, and it's really simple and it's really easy to build a muscle memory because everything is available on the unit. The third thing that I love about this thing is it's really small and it's really portable. And if you like making music on the go, this is a great plus because you can take this thing everywhere, and it's also can be powered by batteries. So if inspiration strikes and you want to take this thing and go to the park or just sitting in a coffee shop, it's very easy to just take this thing and a couple of headphones and just have fun with it. Moving on to the fourth point, this thing is affordable. It's not so expensive. And if you look it up on eBay, on Reverb, you can even get one of these for around $200 US, which is really not bad. You're getting a lot of value for your money, And I think it's really a bargain if you can get one of these as secondhand. I wouldn't necessarily get a new one, but as a secondhand, I think it's a bargain. Point number 5 is something that I already mentioned, but I still think it should be highlighted because it's a really important and maybe one of the most important thing about this unit is that it's really fucking fun to make music with this thing. And not just making music, also performing your music on that is absolutely a blast. I cannot explain to you how many hours I lost just making music on this thing and just getting into a flow and getting ideas that I otherwise wouldn't get on a computer or on any other machine. I don't know how to better explain it, but just saying that this thing is really fun to play with. Alright, so we covered the pros. Let's talk a bit about the cons because there's a lot of disadvantage in this thing. The first one I will mention is the limited polyphony. Now, it's not something you should worry too much about, but you should be aware that there's a very limited polyphony on this thing that is not only determined by the number of parts that you can play, but also the effects that you use. And that really sucks because if you apply a lot of delays especially or reverb, it's limit the number of sounds that you can play at the same time. And if this is something that bothers you or something that you need to take into account, I think it's an important point to consider. It's not that bad if you really want to focus on simplified patterns or have very simple musical phrases. But otherwise, if you want to create a full song, there are better options than the Korg Electribe. Second point I want to bring up as a disadvantage is the envelopes. Unfortunately, you can only manipulate the attack and decay and release. Actually, it's not really a decay and release. It's either a decay or release for the envelope, which in my opinion is very limited for creating sounds. And it doesn't really give you the full possibility to shape the sound the way you want it. And if you're someone who is really interested in sound design and really looking to really create your own unique and special sound, I think there's some limitation here with the envelopes in that perspective. Even though in terms of modulation, it's really quite capable. There is a dedicated LFO here that you can use for manipulating and modulating either the amplitude or the filter or the effects. But overall, the envelopes, they're not so great. And on top of that, they are also not polyphonic, meaning that every time you press a note, it will reset the envelope. And this is not great if you want to create some drone sound or pad sounds, because you will reset the sound without having the tail going into the beginning of the next note. There's a way to overcome that, and the tip to use is either to put reverb or delay on the sound, so it's kind of faking that release, but I wouldn't recommend this thing for heavy pads or drone sounds. Number 3. All right, I'm not crazy about the idea that they split this unit into a synth and a sampler. I think they could have combined both of them and just provide us one complete unit, because while I really like the synth version, I really wished I could swap some of the drum sounds and use my own samples. And then I didn't want to get the sampler because the sampler version don't have the oscillators and the filters that the synth version provide us. So I understand that Korg wants to sell more units, and it's also making those more affordable each, so the cost is not that expensive, so they can market not that expensive. But I don't know, it would have been great if we could have everything in one unit. And this is where you might be interested in the Hacktribe idea, which I will discuss a bit later. Number 4 in our disadvantages. That one, I really don't get Korg. I really don't get Korg on this design decision, and it is about the number of measures that we get per pattern. There's only 4 measures here, which really sucks in my opinion, and especially when previous models of the Electribe really offered us 8 measures per pattern. And here we're getting only 4, and I don't think it's enough for a music idea to have just 4 measures. It's making it really difficult to create some creative evolving ideas with just 4 measures. Although you can overcome that if you play with the mute and kind of fake it that you have more measures, and I have a few jams that I show how to do that. But otherwise, I don't understand why they did that, especially also when there is no dedicated song mode on this unit. So Korg did release in a firmware update the option to do pattern chain, but it doesn't come close to how a song mode should be, and it doesn't really solve that issue that we only have 4 measures per pattern. So yeah, why Korg? Why? I don't get it. All right, moving to the final point, and it is this section here, the XY pad. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, it's a small area that you really can't get never right. No matter how many times I try to master it, it doesn't work as I expected to work, and I really don't see any usage for that. And it's really taking space that could have been used for something else. Maybe a larger screen could have gone here instead of this XY pad, or maybe adding more buttons or knobs or whatever, or just make the design more minimal. I really don't know, but this thing is useless in my opinion. The only time that I actually use this XY pad is to increase the volume of the master effect, but beside that, I really don't use that. I know you can use the arpeggiator with that, and you can add notes with that, but not my thing, really not my thing. Okay, so I promise I will also briefly discuss the idea of the HEC Tribe, which I think is, you cannot talk about the Korg Electribe without mentioning the HEC Tribe. So if you're not familiar with the HEC Tribe, it is basically a firmware update that was created by the community, by a group of developers named Bang Corrupt. And what it does, it's actually hacking the Korg Electribe and adds some extra features and capabilities that are not in the original firmware. So if you choose to install the Hacktribe on the synth unit, for instance, you are getting more oscillators, you're getting the option to use your own samples and also to sample with this unit. And the extra oscillator are really cool because some of them are mimicking FM sounds. I don't know if it's a real FM sound, but it sounds really good and it sounds like an FM sound. If you want to check it out, by the way, I have a video where I showcase all the extra oscillators that are coming with the Hacktribe. So it's a really cool way to extend your unit. But I do want to mention that Hacktribe is not officially released by Korg. You're actually hacking the machine by installing it, which means that it is possible that you could damage your machine and you would lose the warranty if you break something. So if you choose to do that, take into account that this is on your own risk. I don't recommend. I just share that I personally use that. It was simple enough for me to install. It was fun for a while. I really enjoyed playing with that. But eventually I decided to revert, to go back. And the reason I decided to revert and go to the original firmware is because personally what I experienced is some lag and delay in performance. It just didn't work as the original firmware. And I don't know if it's because of my personal unit or if it's something about that. If you want to give it a try, I think today it's much easier than before to install it and even to go back to revert. It was very easy for me to go and revert. And I will share the link into the instruction how to install. But again, with a caveat that you're taking your own risk, and if something's go bad and go wrong, I wouldn't recommend the Hacktribe for someone who just got the Korg Electribe. If you just bought it, first learn how to master the original firmware, how to master the original OS, understand how the Korg Electribe. And after you had it for a while and you feel that you're getting bored, then you can consider installing the Hacktribe. Now the Hacktribe is also continuing to evolve, and I think they're making it better and better with each version. And it's really a shame that Korg really abandoned this line of products. And I think the last update was maybe 2016 or so, like a very long time ago. They don't update this anymore, so we only can rely on the community to go and hack and extend on this unit, which is really shameful. Okay, so verdict. Do I recommend it? I do recommend it, but not for everyone. I recommend this unit for beginners, for people who are just entering the music making, especially those who don't have any other gears and don't plan to use the computer for making music. I think it's an excellent device to learn how to create music. I think it's a great device to have fun and just jam around whenever you feel like. It's a very inspiring device. And if I can mention one more thing that makes this thing so much great is also the large community of followers that we've been really dedicated for the Korg Electribe throughout the years. And it's really a tribe that help each other and support each other and inspire each other. And personally, I don't have any plans to ever get rid of that. I think this thing is always going to be around. I'm not going to use it all the time. I'm not using it all the time. But when I use it, I really have fun and I feel inspired, and I think about it more of a sketchpad. I don't really think about it as like, you know, this thing that will help me make the best next song or next track or whatever. It's just a thing to have fun with. Although I do think that with some patience and practice, you can create like really great stuff with that. And there's a lot of examples from that on YouTube that you can search for, you can check on. Now, if you just got it and you need some help getting around it, I also created a full tutorial of how to start making music on this thing, explaining all the different features and giving some tips and tricks. So if you want to check it, I will post the link in the description. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you liked the video, don't forget to press the like button. And let me know in the comment, what do you think about the Korg Electribe? Would you still get it? Would you still recommend it for other peoples? Do you still enjoy making music on it? And what's your general thought? And if you want to see more of these videos and continue following me, please consider subscribing to my channel. And I will see you next time.